For most of history, protein was slow. Fields to grow, animals to feed, time to wait. Then something appeared that skipped all of it. It floats. It grows in days, and gram for gram, it outperforms eggs, beef, and soy. For centuries, it fed people quietly. Scientists later called it one of the most efficient food sources ever studied. Then it was reclassified, restricted, and pushed out of sight. But why? If a plant can produce protein this fast, this cheaply, and almost anywhere, why is it treated like a problem instead of a solution? That question is the reason this story exists. Long before protein became an industry, there is a plant that was already part of daily life: duckweed. Across Southeast Asia, records and oral histories trace its use back thousands of years. In regions where rice paddies, ponds, and canals shaped survival, duckweed grew naturally on the surface of the water. Farmers did not introduce it, they worked with it. It fed fish, enriched ponds, and was skimmed by hand for people. In China, Vietnam, Thailand, and parts of India, duckweed entered soups, vegetable mixes, and dried cakes. It required no clearing, no planting rows, no seasonal planning. It appeared after rain, spread in warm water, and regenerated faster than it could be exhausted. Small harvests taken daily kept it productive indefinitely. This relationship was not accidental. Duckweed thrives in nutrient-rich water, the same water produced by livestock, households, and farms. Waste flowed into ponds. Duckweed absorbed it. Fish fed on the plants. People fed on both. Protein, water management, and sanitation existed inside a single loop. That loop predates modern agriculture. It predates fertilizer. It predates mechanized farming. Archaeological and historical accounts describe floating plant harvests alongside early aquaculture systems centuries before soybeans or maize traveled continents. The knowledge was local and practical. Duckweed did not need improvement. It did not need expansion. It simply stayed where water stayed. To top it off, it has the biggest advantage over other plants. Duckweed's advantage is speed. Each plant is little more than a floating leaf with a few root threads beneath it. There is no stem to build, no woody structure, no energy spent reaching upward. Everything it absorbs goes directly into growth. Nutrients move from water into tissue almost immediately. Under stable conditions, duckweed can double its biomass in about 48 hours. That rate has been measured repeatedly in controlled studies and field systems. Few food crops operate on that clock. Most are locked into seasonal cycles. Duckweed runs on time measured in days. This changes how productivity works. Yield is no longer calculated by harvest season, but by turnover. Remove part of the surface, and the remaining plants divide again. Harvest does not weaken the system. It triggers another growth phase. Researchers began comparing efficiency rather than acreage. Soybeans, often considered a high-protein crop, require months of growth, prepared soil, fertilizer inputs, and mechanized harvesting. Duckweed needs water, warmth, and light. When protein output is measured over time, duckweed produces many times more usable protein per unit area than traditional crops. Its protein quality also matters. Analyses from universities have shown duckweed contains all essential amino acids in ratios suitable for human diets. The plant does not produce empty calories. It produces structure. This speed unsettles assumptions built into agriculture. Systems designed around planting, waiting, harvesting, and storing struggle to account for something that never stops growing. Continuous production breaks pricing models. It breaks storage logic. It turns protein into a flow instead of a stockpile. Once growth happens this fast, abundance stops being theoretical. It becomes mechanical. And anything mechanical can be repeated anywhere water stands still long enough for green to spread. And when something repeats that reliably, institutions eventually stop ignoring it and start measuring it. In the late 20th century, space agencies faced a problem that stripped food down to fundamentals. Long missions require crops that grow fast, recycle waste, and produce real nutrition in closed systems. Soil is heavy, livestock is impossible, every input must justify itself. Duckweed kept appearing in the data. NASA-funded studies in the 1980s examined it as a candidate for life support systems in space. The plant's rapid growth, high protein content, and ability to recycle nutrients made it unusually efficient. In water-based systems, duckweed converted waste into edible biomass with minimal loss. For closed environments, that efficiency mattered more than tradition. Universities followed. Amino acid analyses confirmed its protein was complete. Human feeding trials showed it could be consumed safely in controlled diets. Researchers measured its productivity per square meter and compared it to soy, wheat, and animal feed. The results were consistent. Duckweed produced more usable protein using less land, less water, and less time. Development institutions noticed as well. The World Bank reviewed protein sources based on resource efficiency rather than market price. Duckweed ranked at the top. It required no fertilizer, minimal infrastructure, and could be grown where farmland struggled. This was verification, and science documented it. It translated centuries of quiet use into charts, trials, and peer-reviewed language. Every test narrowed the gap between what traditional systems had known and what modern systems were willing to accept. Once it was measured as food, researchers began noticing what else it was quietly doing. Duckweed does more than grow protein. It cleans the water that feeds it. The plant absorbs nitrogen and phosphorus directly from the surface, the same compounds that turn rivers green and suffocate lakes downstream. In wastewater ponds, duckweed pulls those nutrients into its own tissue, reducing runoff that would otherwise fuel algae blooms and dead zones. Heavy metals bind to its roots as well, allowing contaminated water to be treated through repeated harvesting. This property changed how some countries used it. In Bangladesh, pilot systems paired duckweed with fish ponds. Wastewater flowed into shallow basins. Duckweed spread across the surface, absorbing nutrients. Fish fed on the plants below. Harvest removed both pollution and protein at the same time. Studies documented lower water toxicity and higher fish yields, produced at costs measured in cents per kilogram. The logic is simple. Duckweed turns waste into structure. What enters the water as excess becomes biomass that can be removed, dried, and reused. The process requires no chemicals and no complex machinery. It runs on growth. Environmental researchers took note. Duckweed appeared in treatment facilities across Asia and parts of Africa as a low-cost method for nutrient recovery. Each harvest resets the system. Clean water remains. Protein leaves the pond. That dual role unsettles categories. Food crops are not expected to purify water. Treatment systems are not expected to produce nutrition. Duckweed does both without switching functions. Once a plant feeds people and repairs damage in the same cycle, the boundaries between agriculture, sanitation, and infrastructure blur. Efficiency stops being a yield metric. It becomes a systems problem. You see, duckweed's problem is what that performance disrupts. Protein is one of the most tightly managed commodities on Earth. Meat, soy, and feed crops move through systems built on scale, storage, transport, and pricing power. Entire industries exist to process, pelletize, ship, and resell protein before it reaches a plate. In the United States alone, animal feed represents a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars each year. Duckweed does not enter that system easily. It grows where infrastructure is unnecessary. It produces protein without feed inputs, grazing land, or long growth cycles. It bypasses feed mills, transport networks, and seasonal contracts. A shallow pond can generate usable protein continuously with minimal cost. That efficiency destabilizes pricing. When protein can be produced locally, quickly, and repeatedly, scarcity becomes difficult to maintain. Markets built around feed conversion ratios and long production timelines lose leverage. This tension appears in how duckweed is categorized. In many regulatory frameworks, it is not treated as a crop. It is labeled a nuisance species, an invasive, and environmental risk. Those classifications do not target safety, they target scale. Backyard ponds rarely draw attention. Commercial systems do. Once production moves beyond personal use, permits, restrictions, and bans begin to appear. The plant remains legal to exist. Its ability to operate as a market competitor becomes the issue. The pattern is consistent. High-efficiency systems that function outside centralized control trigger regulatory friction. The language used is ecological. The pressure applied is economic. Duckweed does not challenge protein production by replacing it directly. It challenges it by making the existing structure optional. So what happens? It disappears through classification. Across many regions, aquatic plants are regulated under environmental and invasive species rules. Duckweed often falls into that category. Moving it between water bodies can require permits. Commercial cultivation can trigger restrictions designed for weed control, not food production. The plant remains common in ponds and ditches, yet difficult to grow at scale without regulatory friction. The contradiction is structural. Growing duckweed in a backyard pond is rarely addressed. Selling it as food or feed is another matter. Once money enters the picture, oversight multiplies. Food safety approvals, transport rules, and invasive species laws intersect in ways that make large operations expensive or unworkable. This is not unique to duckweed. Aquatic plants that reproduce rapidly are managed as risks first and resources second. Regulators focus on containment and spread. Nutrition is not part of the framework. A plant can be tolerated as scenery and rejected as sustenance at the same time. The result is a quiet ceiling. Duckweed is allowed to exist. It is discouraged from competing. Even as research confirms its safety and efficiency, pathways to market remain narrow. In some cases, specific species receive approval for limited uses. In others, the same plant is restricted by environmental codes written long before protein scarcity became a concern. Policy rarely asks whether a system prevents hunger. It asks whether it fits existing categories. Duckweed does not fit neatly. It blurs the line between crop, filter, and infrastructure. When regulation is built to manage scarcity, abundance becomes difficult to process. And food that resists easy classification often ends up exactly where duckweed stays today. Visible everywhere, usable almost nowhere. Duckweed resists control by design. It does not rely on seeds that must be purchased each season. It reproduces by division, splitting into copies of itself again and again. A single fragment can restart an entire surface. Ownership becomes difficult when reproduction ignores permission. It also resists standardization. Duckweed does not grow in rows. It does not ripen on schedule. It cannot be harvested once and stored for months in silos or freezers. Production happens continuously, tied to light and water rather than calendars and contracts. This creates problems for systems built around predictability. Modern agriculture depends on uniform inputs, centralized processing, and intellectual property. Crops are bred to fit machines. Feedstocks are priced through futures. Control flows through genetics, logistics, and scale. Duckweed slips past those levers. Patenting it offers little advantage. Its most productive varieties already exist in nature. Genetic modification provides marginal gains when growth is already exponential. Attempts to contain it often fail. Once introduced, it spreads faster than regulation can follow. That independence limits monetization. When protein can be produced locally with shallow water and minimal inputs, margins shrink. Dependency weakens. Central suppliers lose relevance. Throughout history, food systems that enable autonomy tend to be sidelined, not through erasure, but through neglect, mislabeling, and bureaucratic friction. Duckweed fits that pattern. It remains accessible to individuals while remaining impractical for corporate ownership. This is not a flaw. It is the feature that makes it disruptive. A protein source that cannot be locked behind patents, feed contracts, or land concentration challenges assumptions older than industrial farming itself. Today, it still floats in plain sight, a protein source capable of doubling in days. A water purifier dismissed as a weed, a system that works without permission. The global food narrative insists protein must be expensive, land-intensive, and slow. Duckweed contradicts that story simply by existing. It does not argue, it grows. For centuries, it has waited at the margins of attention, unaffected by policy shifts or market cycles. When ignored, it survives. When studied, it performs. When harvested, it returns. We did not lose duckweed. We organized food systems around assumptions that made it inconvenient to notice. Abundance did not disappear. It stayed floating on the surface, waiting for a moment when the rules that hid it finally break. So, what other solutions do you think we have labeled nuisance simply because they can't be controlled? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.